I just wanted to take a little bit of time today to explain some of the rationale for what you might have seen in today's videos or some of the other things we have online. At Access, we work really hard to pair the technology to the patient. We see people from all different backgrounds, ages, and abilities. And what's really important for a successful prosthetic outcome is to pair the technology with the goals and activities of the patient. So we really strive to make sure that we're providing the most functional prosthesis without making it overly complicated or overly burdensome for the patient to use. Some of our clients and patients are a little bit more elderly. They may have, less hand dexterity or issues with their vision or some other things that they're working through. So we try to make things as simple as possible while allowing them to be independent and participate in the activities that they want to engage in from day to day. So while the technology is always advancing, it may not be the correct fit for that particular patient. Some of the newer technologies like vacuum and some other things really work well when paired with the correct patient. Mainly people that are extremely active and they have very high demands of the prosthesis, whether it's several loading cycles per day, say they're doing some intense activity like jogging or working on their feet for hours and hours, and then possibly going to the gym or doing some motocross or BMX or skateboarding or snowboarding, cycling. Those are K4 level folks that really require high-level componentry with very excellent suspension. And that might not be the same for someone who was maybe walking with a walker in their home before they had an amputation, and now they really just want to be able to get out of the wheelchair and get around their house, go to the grocery store, walk around a little bit, but aren't participating in those high-level like exercise activities. So what we found that it's just really important to use all the tools and technologies available to find what's best for the patient. And that allows us to, again, make the most functional prosthesis without making it overly complicated. And simple sometimes works best. So we work very hard to make sure the patient's experience and guidance working with us allows us to match the appropriate level of technology with the demands and activities that the patient's expecting to participate in. The most common is, how long does it take to get my prosthesis? And so for most folks, it's anywhere from 8 to 12 weeks following your initial amputation surgery if everything goes really well. And that's another thing that's important when selecting a prosthetist, is knowing if that individual is used to working with the hospital or site where you're having your surgery, because early intervention usually helps with a better outcome. And what I mean from that perspective is, the sooner we're able to get involved, answer questions, provide protection for your residual limb, work with therapy and other folks in concert with the other healthcare providers, we find that patients have much improved outcomes. Information is key, and getting that information to the patients early has led to some very positive experiences. If you're facing amputation surgery or are new to prosthetics, typically what will take place is, following your surgery, in many cases they will place a wound vac for about a week. Once that's removed, we typically will apply a rigid cast. That cast will be worn for a number of weeks, 8 to 10 weeks, until all of your sutures have been removed. Once those sutures are removed, we would fit you with a prosthetic shrinker, and that helps shape your limb to get you ready for the casting for your initial prosthesis. Once we cast you for your prosthesis at week 8 to 12, typically it takes another week or two to make your preparatory prosthetic. The preparatory prosthetic is worn by the patient anywhere from 3 to 6 months. And during that time, we make a lot of adjustments to the P-Lite liner to make sure that we're keeping up with the changes in atrophy in your limb. as well as making sure you're able to attend physical therapy and kind of start to regain your independence and activities. After that 3 to 6 month period, typically people will transition into a more definitive prosthetic design. And that really just depends on how long it takes for your limb to mature and what types of activities you're wanting to engage in. I think many times people are just afraid of the unknown for the most part. It's a huge change in their life having a amputation, and they're wondering what types of activities they're going to be able to do following the surgery. And really, it has a lot to do with the types of things they like to do beforehand, and kind of the effort and work that they're willing to put in following amputation to really gain a little bit more control over maybe their overall health and some of the things they've been working through, as well as maybe some lifestyle changes that will allow them to have possibly better control of their blood sugar, or just improved management of some of their health conditions. So that certainly is a big benefit as you move through the process, is just to be prepared. Following amputation, again, depending on several factors and other health, people usually do many of the same activities that they were engaging in prior to amputation. I kind of tell people, it's still your leg. It's far shorter than it was. We're going to make a prosthesis to try to regain some of your mobility and independence. And really, it comes down to what you want to do. And I tell people a lot of times you're going to do the same things. You might have to find a little bit different way of doing them. But for the most part, you're going to be able to engage in many, many of the activities that you enjoyed prior to utilizing a prosthetic device. I think patients do well following amputation if they've put some effort into regaining their strength and trying to mentally prepare themselves for not only the surgery, but physically prepare themselves so that following surgery, when they're asked to do different exercises and different therapies and kind of regain their independence and mobility, they have those strength reserves there that they can tap into and just kind of build upon that. A lot of times, amputation has taken many years, so people may not have been able to be walking during that time. So the more work you can do before the surgery, the better chances of being functional afterwards with regard to strength and those sorts of things.